The wedding that shut down Manhattan. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce did not just plan a wedding. According to the reports surrounding this story, they created the kind of celebrity NFL event that makes an entire city stop, stare, and start asking one question: how much does love cost when the bride is one of the biggest artists on earth and the groom is one of the most famous tight ends in football? The answer, if the numbers being discussed are even close, is almost impossible to believe. Madison Square Garden, a building usually reserved for playoff battles, sold-out concerts, and unforgettable New York nights, reportedly became the center of their celebration. Not a quiet ballroom, not a private country club. The Garden, the same place where legends perform and champions are crowned, was suddenly transformed into the stage for one of the most talked-about weddings in modern sports and entertainment. And this was not just a ceremony. Reports describe multiple days of access, private planning, luxury production, tight security, and a guest list that crossed every border between football, music, Hollywood, and pop culture. Streets around the venue were reportedly affected. Security had to be handled like a major public event. Every detail seemed designed not only to celebrate a marriage, but to protect one of the most watched couples in the world. For Travis Kelce, this was bigger than football. He has played in Super Bowls, handled pressure in front of millions, and built a legacy with the Kansas City Chiefs. But this was a different kind of spotlight. No helmet, no playbook, no Patrick Mahomes throwing across the middle. Just Travis standing at the center of a cultural storm beside Taylor Swift. And for Taylor, the scale made sense. Her world has always been built on emotion, spectacle, secrecy, and unforgettable moments. But when that world collided with the NFL, the result became something bigger than a wedding. So tell me where you are watching from right now. Drop your city or country in the comments. If you think this wedding became bigger than football, press 1. If you think the honeymoon is the real story, press 2. And if you love NFL stories beyond the scoreboard, subscribe, because this story is only beginning. The price tag nobody could ignore. Before anyone could even talk about the honeymoon, the wedding itself became the first shockwave. Because when you hear Madison Square Garden, luxury production, celebrity guests, custom fashion, private security, and several days of access, you already know this was never going to be a normal wedding bill. Different reports placed the possible cost in different ranges, but every number had one thing in common. They were all massive. Some estimates pointed toward $10 million. Others suggested $15 to $20 million. And then the speculation grew even louder when people compared the event to other billionaire-level celebrations that had recently dominated global headlines. But the important part was not just the number. It was where the money reportedly went. A venue like Madison Square Garden does not open quietly. You do not simply walk in, decorate a few tables, and walk out. A space that big requires setup, lighting, sound, staging, flowers, security, transportation, privacy, and a production team capable of turning an arena into something that feels intimate. That is where the cost starts climbing fast. Reports suggested the couple may have paid an enormous amount just for access to the building. Then came the transformation of the space. An arena known for sports and concerts was reportedly turned into something closer to a private garden. That means flowers, decor, lighting, pathways, staging, and the kind of visual design that has to look perfect from every angle because every blurry phone photo might end up online within minutes. And then there was security. When Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are involved, security is not optional. It is the foundation. Every entrance, every exit, every vehicle, every hallway, every guest arrival has to be controlled. Because this was not only a wedding, it was a target for cameras, fans, tabloids, and anyone hoping to catch 1 second of the most private moment in the most public relationship in sports. That is why the wedding became the baseline, the starting point, the floor. If this was the ceremony, then the honeymoon had to be something even more secret, even more protected, and maybe even more expensive. The guest list that turned a wedding into an NFL event. The money got attention, but the guest list told the real story. Because when names from Hollywood, music, and the NFL started appearing in reports around the celebration, people realized this was not just Taylor Swift's world or Travis Kelce's world. This was the collision of both, and the impact was impossible to ignore. In the NFL, Travis Kelce is not just another player. He is one of the defining tight ends of his generation, a key part of the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty, and one of the most recognizable personalities in the league. So naturally, football was going to be present. Reports connected major NFL names to the event, including coaches, stars, legends, and people tied to the Chiefs' rise. That matters because weddings reveal relationships that regular games never show. On Sundays, players are divided by uniforms, rivalries, and standings. But at a moment like this, those walls disappear. People who compete against each other can still respect each other. Coaches who live under constant pressure can still show up for family moments. Former teammates can still matter long after the locker room changes. And at the emotional center of that football side was the Kelce family. Jason Kelce reportedly had a major role, and that made perfect sense. Travis and Jason have become one of the most beloved brother stories in American sports. They built separate NFL legacies, faced each other on the biggest stage, and turned their family bond into something fans connected with deeply. Jason being there was not about celebrity, it was about history. But the Hollywood side made the night feel even bigger. When actors, artists, comedians, athletes, and entertainment icons are all connected to the same event, the wedding becomes more than private happiness. It becomes a cultural symbol. That is what Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift represent together. Football and music, stadiums and arenas, Sunday pressure and global fame. Their relationship pulled millions of new eyes toward the NFL. And this wedding showed how powerful that crossover had become. But after the last guest left and the headlines exploded, the next question became even louder. Where do two people this famous go when they want to disappear? The honeymoon delay that sparked new questions. Here is where the story took a turn most people did not expect. For a couple surrounded by luxury, fame, and the kind of resources most people cannot imagine, everyone assumed the honeymoon would begin immediately. Private jet waiting? Secret island ready? Security team in motion. Bags packed before the wedding cake was even cleared. But according to reports, that was not the plan. Instead of vanishing the next morning, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were linked to another major event first, the California wedding of Juju Smith-Schuster and Laura Crooks. And that detail changed the tone of the entire story. Because Juju is not just a random NFL name. He and Travis shared time with the Kansas City Chiefs. And that football bond appears to matter. In a league where rosters change quickly, and friendships can be tested by trades, injuries, and business decisions, showing up for someone else's wedding sends a message. It says loyalty still counts, but it also created a mystery. Why would Taylor and Travis delay their own honeymoon after planning one of the biggest weddings of the year? Why not sneak away for a few days before California? Why not take a short private escape and then return? Reports suggested there would be no mini honeymoon before the Juju wedding. No quick getaway. No soft launch of the trip. Nothing obvious. That only made people speculate more. Maybe the delay was real. Maybe it was strategic. Maybe it was designed to confuse photographers and entertainment outlets. When you are two of the most followed people in the world, even staying still can become part of the plan. Silence becomes a shield. Conflicting reports become a wall. And the less people know, the safer the real itinerary becomes. But Travis had one thing: Taylor's world could not move. The NFL calendar. Training camp was coming. The Chiefs would not wait. The playbook would not wait. The season would not wait. So whatever honeymoon they planned had to fit inside a very narrow window. That made the next part even more unbelievable. The off-the-grid plan. Most people say they want to go off the grid and mean they will turn off their phone for a weekend. For Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, going off the grid reportedly means something very different. It means privacy teams, secure locations, private transportation, hidden schedules, limited outside contact, and an itinerary so protected that even conflicting reports may be part of the strategy. According to the story being built around the couple, they wanted time away before Travis returned to football. And that part is important, because once the Chiefs season begins, Travis does not belong to himself in the same way. His body belongs to training. His mind belongs to the playbook. His time belongs to meetings, practices, travel, recovery, media, and the constant pressure of chasing another championship. That makes the honeymoon more than a luxury trip. It becomes a final pause before the storm. And Taylor understands storms better than almost anyone. Her career has been built under non-stop public attention. Every appearance becomes a headline. Every move becomes a theory. Every photo can become a global conversation. So if she and Travis truly wanted privacy, they had to build it carefully. That is why the reported off-the-grid detail became so powerful. It suggested this was not just about beaches and expensive hotels. It was about control. A couple that has lived under cameras trying to create a few weeks where the world does not get to watch every second. But privacy at their level is expensive. It takes security. It takes planning. It takes locations that can protect them from fans, paparazzi, and leaks. And it takes a circle of people willing to stay silent. That is where the wedding becomes connected to the honeymoon. The same secrecy that surrounded the ceremony likely follows the trip. The same careful coordination. the same protected guest access, the same understanding that one loose detail can send photographers racing across the globe. And if the rumored destinations are real, the chase may cover more than one continent. The Bahamas, Italy, and the first layer of the mystery. The first reported stop in the honeymoon story was the Bahamas, and that choice made sense immediately. For a couple like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, the Bahamas offers something rare: beauty, luxury, and the possibility of controlled privacy. It is close enough to reach quickly, but exclusive enough to disappear if the right property, island, or resort is involved. For celebrities, that combination matters. But the Bahamas was only the beginning. Reports then pointed toward Europe, and that is where the honeymoon started sounding less like a vacation and more like a world tour. Italy entered the conversation. The coast, Lake Como, places known for quiet luxury, old-world beauty, private villas, and celebrity history. Lake Como especially carries a certain meaning. It is not just beautiful. It is the kind of place where wealthy and famous people go when they want elegance without chaos. It has the scenery, the water, the security options, and the kind of hidden corners that make it perfect for a high-profile couple trying to stay just out of reach. But there is a problem with romantic locations like that. They are also watched. Paparazzi know the celebrity routes. Local photographers know the docks, hotels, restaurants, and private roads. Tourists carry phones everywhere. A single blurry image from a boat or balcony can become an international headline before dinner is over. That is why this honeymoon story became so fascinating. Every reported destination sounded perfect, but every perfect destination also created risk. And that risk is exactly what made the rumors multiply. Some reports suggested Italy and Greece. Others pointed toward the Bahamas and Lake Como. Others included Paris, the French Riviera, and even Croatia. Every version felt possible. Every version sounded expensive. And every version made it harder to know where Taylor and Travis were really going. That may have been the point. When the world is trying to track your love story, confusion is not a problem. It is protection. Paris, the Riviera, and the Croatia connection. If the reports about the European route are accurate, then this honeymoon was not designed as one simple escape. It was designed as a layered journey, with each stop carrying a different meaning. Paris would bring romance. The French Riviera would bring glamour. Croatia would bring something more personal. That Croatia detail is the one that gave the story emotional weight. Reports connected the destination to Travis Kelce's family background, with attention around Croatian roots through the Kelce family line. Whether the trip became a full ancestral journey or simply a meaningful stop, the idea changed how people viewed the honeymoon. It was no longer only about wealth. It became about identity. For Travis, a player whose public image has exploded far beyond football, a stop connected to family roots would create a different kind of moment. Not another red carpet. Not another stadium. Not another celebrity headline. Something quieter. Something tied to where his family story came from before the NFL, before the Chiefs, before the fame, before the world watched every step he took. That contrast is what makes this entire story powerful. On one side, you have Madison Square Garden, celebrity guests, luxury fashion, security convoys, and a wedding bill that made people gasp. On the other side, you have the idea of a man trying to connect with family history before returning to one of the most demanding jobs in American sports. And Taylor's role in that becomes interesting too. She is not just traveling with an NFL star. She is stepping into the parts of his story that existed before the spotlight. That is the kind of detail fans connect with because it feels human beneath all the luxury. Still, the schedule remained brutal. A wedding in New York, a reported stop in California, a possible multi-country honeymoon. Then Chiefs training camp. No matter how much money surrounds the couple, time is the one thing nobody can buy more of. And for Travis Kelce, the clock was already ticking. The NFL deadline that changes everything. The biggest threat to this honeymoon was never the paparazzi. It was the calendar. The NFL calendar does not care about celebrity weddings. It does not slow down for honeymoons, headlines, or private islands. Once training camp arrives, the season begins its slow march toward pressure, pain, competition, and expectations. For Travis Kelce, that means the dream trip has an expiration date. That is what makes this story different from a normal celebrity honeymoon. Taylor Swift can dominate the global entertainment world, but Travis still belongs to a team. He still has coaches waiting, teammates preparing, young players trying to earn roster spots, reporters asking questions, fans watching every movement because the Kansas City Chiefs are not an ordinary team. They are a dynasty-level organization where every season carries championship expectations. So even if the honeymoon includes the Bahamas, Lake Como, Paris, the French Riviera, Croatia, Greece, or somewhere completely different, it has to end before football fully pulls him back. That creates tension, because the same fame that makes the trip possible also makes it difficult. They can afford privacy, but they cannot guarantee invisibility. They can fly anywhere, but they cannot stop the deadline. They can build a perfect escape, but they cannot change the fact that Travis must eventually trade luxury views for practice fields. And that transition will be dramatic. One week, he could be walking through a European coastline with one of the most famous women alive. The next, he could be back inside the Chiefs facility, studying defensive looks and preparing his body for another violent NFL season. That is the double life Travis Kelce now lives. He is not only a football player anymore. He is part of a global celebrity relationship that has changed how millions of people see the NFL. But when the whistle blows, none of that matters on the field. No headline catches a pass. No wedding bill blocks a linebacker. No honeymoon protects his body from a hit over the middle. The romance may be global, but the season will be real. The honeymoon nobody can fully track. The most interesting thing about the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce honeymoon story is that nobody outside their inner circle seems to know the full truth. And that may be exactly how they want it. One report points toward the Bahamas, another points toward Italy, another mentions Lake Como, Paris, the French Riviera, Croatia, Greece, or even the English countryside. The map keeps changing, and with every new version, the mystery gets stronger. For most celebrity couples, that would create confusion. For Taylor and Travis, it creates protection, because when you are that famous, privacy is not about hiding in one place. It is about making the world unsure where to look. If photographers do not know which airport matters, which coastline matters, which villa matters, or which country matters, then the couple has already won part of the battle. But the emotional side of the story is just as important as the luxury. This honeymoon represents a small window between two enormous lives. Taylor's life is built on music, performance, global attention, and the constant demand for reinvention. Travis's life is built on football, physical sacrifice, team loyalty, and the pressure of winning at the highest level. Their relationship lives between those worlds. And this trip is reportedly their chance to step away before both machines start moving again. That is why people cannot stop watching. Not just because of the money, not just because of the names, not just because of the destinations. They are watching because this story feels like the modern NFL in its most dramatic form. Football is no longer only about what happens between the sidelines. It is about culture, fame, relationships, business, media, and the way athletes become global figures beyond the game. Travis Kelce's wedding and reported honeymoon show that transformation clearly. He is still the Chiefs' tight end, still the competitor, still the player fans expect to deliver when the season begins. But now he is also part of a story the entire world followed. And somewhere between the private jets, hidden villas, family history, and the deadline of training camp, one thing is clear. This honeymoon is not just a vacation. It is the final quiet chapter before football takes Travis Kelce back. What this story really means for Travis, Taylor, and the NFL. When all the rumors, price tags, private flights, island hideaways, European villas, and wedding headlines are stripped away, this story is really about something much bigger than one luxury honeymoon. It is about what happens when the NFL crosses fully into global pop culture. Travis Kelce is still a football player first. That has always been the foundation. His legacy was built through tough catches, playoff moments, Super Bowl pressure, and years of chemistry inside the Kansas City Chiefs offense. But his relationship with Taylor Swift pushed his public life into a different universe. Suddenly, every move became bigger. Every trip became news. Every private moment became a headline. And that creates both opportunity and pressure. Strategically, the Chiefs will want Travis focused when football returns. No matter how bright the celebrity spotlight becomes, the season demands discipline. Training camp is not glamorous. It is repetition, conditioning, film study, recovery, and sacrifice. That is where Travis has to separate the noise from the mission. The honeymoon may be beautiful, but the locker room will judge only one thing: whether he is ready to help the team win. For Taylor, this story shows the challenge of loving someone whose world runs on a different clock. Music has tours, albums, performances, and public pressure. Football has injuries, schedules, opponents, and a short career window. Their lives are powerful, but they are not simple. And maybe that is the real lesson. Behind every giant headline, there are still two people trying to protect something human. Fame can amplify love, but it can also test it. Money can buy privacy, but it cannot buy peace. Security can block cameras, but it cannot remove pressure. And even the most famous couple in the world still needs trust, patience, and quiet moments away from everyone else's opinion. For fans, the peaceful lesson is simple. Enjoy the story, but remember the people inside it. Celebrate the romance without turning every detail into a battlefield. Support the player without demanding perfection. Let the season speak for itself when Travis returns to the field, because soon the honeymoon headlines will fade, and football will take over again. The cameras will shift back to the Chiefs. The questions will become sharper. The expectations will rise. And Travis Kelce will have to prove, once again, that no matter how loud the outside world gets, he can still deliver when the game is on the line. If you think Travis will come back stronger after this chapter of his life, hit like and subscribe. Share this video with another NFL fan, and comment 1 if you believe love and football can survive the spotlight, or comment 2 if you think the pressure is only getting started.